would just like to point out that at the start of this video that Netflix, in their infinite wisdom, gave this film an Oscar qualifying run. So, in case you're wondering the type of films Netflix intends on running for Oscar campaign season, might be this. God help us. I'm John Stark from BackToMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is The Deliverance, or Lee Daniels' The Deliverance. I guess he has to own The Deliverance. I wouldn't want to put my name on this. This would be an Alan Smithy film if I directed this. Wow. Yeah, this is on Netflix. It has audio description, produced by Descriptive Video Works, narrated by Bill Larson. I did catch the writer's name. I just can't remember that many names in the course of having to do a video. It's got, as I said, it's directed by Lee Daniels, who previously has directed films like The Butler, Precious, Paperboy, Shadow Boxer. I'm missing one. I don't know. So something else. He's got, this is sixth film. And it's something. It's a film. It's based on, I don't even want to say it. I don't even want to say those words. Based on a true story. I feel like the word based, when you're diving into these weird supernatural things, like I'm not really a believer in this kind of stuff. The only reason I don't like walk into haunted houses is because I feel like people just set them up with like little traps to like try to, they're like, oh, well, if we have this thing over here, it'll make a sound and a creak here, and a door, we can slam the door here with this. It's like, you can make me convinced that I still wouldn't be. I don't believe in it. So, but this is based on a true story. Some lady in Gary, Indiana had a real experience that Lee Daniels was like, oh my God, this would make for a terrible movie. I'm going to make it. And he did. So thank God for this. Unfortunately, he inexplicably brought along with him 3 Oscar nominees and 1 winner. So fuck you. But it's got Oscar nominee Andra, Oscar nominee Glenn Close, Oscar nominee Andra Taylor, and Academy Award winner Monique. I'm blown away. I wanted to see, normally I don't care what the critical reception is. It's all over the place. I saw one guy who was like blown away by this, and he was like, oh my God, I think I just watched Jesus fucking just touch me. He like reached into my soul. It was the most gushing review for a film, and it's from a critic I respect deeply. I was like, what the fuck did you just watch, sir? Please tell me. And then the other review was exactly what I thought it was going to be, which is, I think this film is so bad, it might be actually hilariously bad. It's insane. It's just ridiculous. It tonally doesn't make any sense. It doesn't know what kind of genre it is or wants to be. I think it's actually faith-based horror. I think it's like it's a new thing. It's because it makes like a huge point of saying it's not an exorcism movie. It's a deliverance movie. It's really, but it also doesn't really commit into what the difference between an exorcism or a deliverance is. So it's just like, no, I don't perform exorcisms. I perform deliverances. You need an intermediary for an exorcism. I'm a deliverance. Anyway, this movie stars Andra plays Ebony, who's a mother that is challenged. She's got 3 kids, and she is trying to move and start a new life with her mother, played by Glenn Close, inexplicably played by Glenn Close, for many reasons inexplicably. but really just inexplicably played by Glenn Close, because I don't think anybody's ever looked at Andra Day and been like, who would play her mother? Glenn Close. Glenn Close would be a great mother for Andra Day. And just gone from there. So they move into this house, and I was having a real hard time following some of this stuff, because like Glenn Close, I think, lives here in this town already, because there's this whole thing with her, like cancer treatments that she goes to, and she's like going through, I don't know, something, dialysis or something. She goes to some place and receives treatments, and when she's leaving, the nurse like stops her, and she's like, oh, just to let you know, and she's, you know, the payment isn't going through. And Glenn's like, oh, that's just Medicaid. I'll give them a call. Yeah, them being stupid. She's like, oh, I thought you knew. It hasn't been Medicaid for a year now. It's been her. And I'm like, who the fuck is her? And then we're like, we go back to the house, and it's like, oh, it's Andra Day. It's like, wait, what? So did they just not move here? Like, what? I'm so confused. And then we got Monique playing like a bounty hunter / child protective services agent who like shows up because Andra Day is again troubled as a mother. And she's like, you thought you could hide from me, haha, and I found you. Okay, did it take you that long? Because Glenn Close has an established relationship at the at this cancer treatment facility. I fucking have no idea what's going on in this film. I'm just gonna admit that, forthright. It could be a blind film critic thing. Could just be the fact that I refuse to watch this film again to try to figure it out. The whole film, I was just like, what? What? I love how Omar Epps is in this role. It's totally a thankless role. Just like, why is he even in this? Why did we call up Omar Epps for this? Caleb McLaughlin is in this too. I forgot to mention that. He's worth mentioning. He's in Stranger Things. He did a really good job last year in Shooting Stars, a film that I did like a lot. It went straight to streaming, but I enjoyed it a lot. And they've moved into this house. Basically, it's haunted, right? They don't know it's haunted. It's just strange shit is happening. There are flies. There's like a dead cat in the basement, or something. There's a dead animal in the basement. Guy comes by and has to pay for it, and Nate, the brother, ends up paying for it because he's got like a wad of cash. I don't know. The mother debates like stealing from him. Like, there's all this stuff. Basically, they try to establish that Andra Day is a sketchy mother, and her children are at risk. But then they also, like, her children are also very just sort of like weird. Like, we don't like our mother, but we also don't want to leave our mother. You know what I'm saying? It's just such a weird dynamic that these kids have. They never really fully commit to it. They don't really. The thing is that if they fully commit to Andra Day problematically coming into this as an abusive mother, then it makes it hard to give her redemption. Plus, when you say based on a true story, people are then going to be like, well, obviously the original person was an abusive asshole. You know what I'm saying? So like they can't make really distinct choices. So they have to kind of ambiguously suggest things. And then also they do everything while it's in this house, while it's haunted. And so everything is given this like pretext of, oh, well, maybe it was the haunting. You know, you're absolved. Congratulations on being absolved of being a shitty mother. You know, I mean, it's great. It's a great experience, you know, when you're battling alcoholism, to move into a new place and be like, well, I wasn't abusing my kids. It was the place. Do I think that there's an actual story where some child like crab walked on a ceiling and then, no, I don't. I really don't. uh, no, I don't think that happened. I don't think this is like a realistic account. We never have those videos, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's never like a home video of the crab walk on the ceiling where they're like, oh my God, he's defying gravity. I'm flying high, defying gravity. You know, I'm just like, just, there's no Elphaba moments here and in real life. But we can do it in a movie because in a movie, it doesn't matter. There's also, unfortunately, I have to mention Audrey Ellis Taylor, who plays religion, uh, Jesus. I don't know. So she's 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 kind of checking out the house, and she waits for somebody who knows what's going on inside this house. She waits a really fucking long time to say anything about it. You know, like in other films, you always like see those people and then like go into like dangerous territory, and there's somebody who just like runs out of the woods. And they're like, no, it's like right away. Andrea has apparently been watching this house, and she lets all this shitty stuff happen, and then she reveals herself, and she's like, by the way, all that strange shit you've been experiencing while I've been silently watching you, the house is haunted, and I'm here to deliver. It's some religious Bernice or something like that, and she's the one who gives like a half-assed explanation as to why it's not an exorcism. Were they like legally not allowed to call it an exorcism, so they called it a deliverance? Like, I do not understand this film uh, on many levels. It's way too stupid for a Lee Daniels film. It's by far the worst film he's ever made. Like, it was just not even close. I mean, I'm like, this was on your bucket list, bro? Like, this, you made Precious and The Butler, and then you were like, you know what? I need to get into horror. What did he do? Has he been just only watching really shitty horror films his whole life, and then just jumped in and was like, yeah, I'm gonna make this. This is gonna join the ranks. Um, yeah, there are a lot of unsettling moments where like people make choices inside the house, but it doesn't, it's like it can't commit to anything because it doesn't want to say anything because it wants to tie it to this other story, but doesn't want to like implicate anybody or put that on you because it actually uses the person's real name. And I've seen there are other people who are like promoting this film and they're like, oh, check out the real story. This really happened. It's real. It's happened like I want to say 2012. So it's not even that old. I would think that the people, at least the kids, it's probably humans still alive out there in the world, and they're watching this movie going, fuck, that was not my experience. Lee Daniels has done something that is just not true. I wasn't even 100% sure that it wasn't just like a psychological thriller until the point, I'm jumping all around here, by the way, in terms of timeline. There's a point where we get sort of like this weird flashback of like what happened to the family before, which involves a decapitation. And at that point I was like, oh, we are going for horror, because it was so weird. Like that scene was so bizarre. And it was so hardcore compared to everything else we'd seen up until that point, where I was just like, what? I mean, they do the thing where like people's like eyes glaze over, you know, and they're like the the soullessness in their eyes. I don't know how else to describe that. But there's nothing there. It's like blackness, or it's in the eyes, or I don't know. They do some of that. They do some light, but it's tonally so bizarre. And again, like sometimes people come in and they have these like comedic moments. Like Monique comes in and her energy to the film is completely different than the film at the time at which she enters it. Like uh and even the audio description like picks up on these, like she's got like these like pink hot pink high heels on. I'm like, why is that important? You know what I'm saying? Like some of these things are like, is this to help highlight her character being sort of like like something? I don't Um, I he gets these actors to commit though, because by the end of the film, we got people like rolling all over the floor because they're in various states of demonic possession. And Glenn Close at 77 years old, still trying to earn her Oscar. She's like, you know what? I got nominated for Hillbilly Elegy. Who knows? It might happen for me. This might be the film. I feel like Glenn Close approaches every film now with the you never know. I might win an Oscar for this. So even though, like, fundamentally she should have read this script and turned it down, she probably read it and was like, you know what? I don't know what Oscar voters want anymore. I've been nominated so many times. They've had the opportunity to give me an Oscar. Maybe this is what they're missing. Maybe they're right. I don't know. Maybe she'll win for this. Who knows? She can't seem to win for anything where she's actually doing good acting, so she might as well be nominated for something in which she's doing sort of campy acting. I would say, you know, she has lines like her character's like flirting with people, and then there's like a guy. Remember, she's like 77. So like there's a guy who doesn't flirt with her, and she's like, "You're like the only one who doesn't flirt with me. Are you gay?" You know, it's so weird. Audio description. Bill Larson's narrating this. He's the wrong person to narrate it. First of all, he tonally, even if I'm gonna just like forgive the fact that he sounds like the whitest kid I know, he just tonally has no idea what he cannot commit to. This is, if ever a film, uh, I needed like a voice. It's this film, because this film doesn't even know what type of genre it is, let alone having a narrator that also is like sort of uncommitted in terms of the tone of voice. Like he could be narrating anything from a kid's film to a rom-com right now. It's just, he has like this tone that's very accessible for a wide range of things except horror movies or to be scared. Like there's nothing scary about his voice. It's not even like remotely unsettling. He's the most pleasant sounding person ever. He's the weirdest choice for this. I generally appreciate the work that the Scripted Video Works does. This is the weirdest fucking narrator choice I think I've ever heard them make, with the exception of just like straight up AI audio description, you know, like just using a voice, just from the computer mix, like in what was that awful Nice Girls? That was that film. Um, like he's a real person and he can narrate plenty of things, but horror is not his genre. Is anything scary? No. He has no idea what he's doing here. He's lost. He needs to be delivered back somewhere. You have to find a narrator who sounds appropriate for the project. Casting is everything. And he did nothing for me, and if anything, just kind of set the film in the other direction. Because every time the film is trying to be scary, I've got Bill Larson here sounding like he's, I don't know, reading me the funny pages or something. It's very just so like oil and water. Like the two are just not mixing at all. Um, I would say we should probably cast a black narrator for this, considering the cast is almost entirely predominantly black, with the exception of Glenn Close, who, again, I don't know why she's here, but she is. But at the same time, I can't discount the fact that if William Michael Redmond had been on this film, at least I would have known what genre we were in. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least. But then again, at the same time, I think like John Bradley would have probably delivered a pretty solid performance on this as well. And I've heard some other narrators that I feel like probably could have pulled off horror as a genre. So, yeah. Narrator choices. It is important to make sure you pick the right person. The script wise, Script narrator, you're getting a pass because I actually thought you wrote a pretty good script from what I could tell. I've listened to a couple reviews. It seems like that there's always something trying to go bump in the night in this thing, that he's like, he has like a door shut out of nowhere or something like that. You can only pick up on just so many of those things anyway. And I feel like a lot of that was picked up on. I don't know if I missed any of those things. But you can't just creep me out by having doors shut. First of all, I mean, like other directors you score to help build. I don't know what the score to this film was. It doesn't really help build anything. Lee Daniels is basically way out of his element here. Um, I, he's not a good enough director to be able to step into this genre. He's out of his genre. And he's trying to mix in the stuff that he's learned by directing things in other genres before and bringing that to this film. And his usual toolkit doesn't work here. It's like moving to the UK, but you didn't get the right plugs, and you keep trying to plug in all of your American plugs into British sockets and blowing things because you didn't read the whole thing about how the sockets are different. It's kind of like that, yeah, you just have to, I don't know. It's not good direction. Acting, the sad thing is that I actually think everyone showed up. That's the truth. To be totally honest, I just think it's a bad script. I think it's bad direction. But I think everybody showed up. I think it's poorly edited. I think this is all on the filmmaker's side. This is very much a Lee Daniels problem. Lee Daniels is the problem, should be the next film. But I don't think there's actually bad acting here. Like, I think Andra Day as Ebony is fine, given the context in which she's told. Like, given what her performance is, I don't think she either under or overacted her performance in a way that was just so like, oh my God, you. Same thing with like Anjanou Ellis-Taylor. I mean, she's given a role that is, she literally, there's nothing she can change about it. She has to explain this dumbass Deliverance thing and then follow through on it. And it's like, well, there's so many problems with your character, but that's the way your character's written. It's not like you can go in there and like rewrite the script and then, or just start like, getting up on camera and just starting to, improvise and be like, well, your writing sucks, so I need to explain Deliverance better. And maybe why I've been watching you this whole time suffer, and now I'm stepping in. Monique, maybe her character was written that way. Maybe Lee Daniels was like, listen, I want you to enter in like the sassy queen you are, and slowly discover that you're in a horror film. It's just, I don't know. Monique gave one hell of a performance in Precious. It is one of like the best on-screen transformations I've ever seen. She's also rarely ever given anything like that. So I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say that as she continues to get older, that she continues to earn that gravitas that she had. It's not a bad performance. It's just kind of a nothing performance. And I was actually kind of really excited to see Monique again, because I'm always like, where the fuck is Monique? We gave her an Oscar, then we were like, bye. Nobody has been ejected from Hollywood quicker than Monique after winning an Oscar. Like, it just felt like, where did her career go? Like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego needs to be? Where in the world did Monique's career go? But yeah, Lee Daniels keeps giving her work, so good on you, sir. I wish this film was better. Caleb McLaughlin, again, he plays the least interesting child. Not really the least. Actually, I think the daughter is the least interesting child, to be totally honest, of the three. The little boy, the young boy, is Andre, is actually the one that has the scene chewing to do. He's the one that ends up being the most possessed of the bunch. But at the same time, I'm not gonna say Caleb doesn't have some stuff to work with. Omar Epps is just like, well, I don't even know why you're here, but thank you. Goodbye now. So I don't want to get into too many spoilers, so we're going to jump sort of like how this film really interacts with and what the Deliverance and how that goes and the silliness around it, and just I'm gonna leapfrog that and you can explore that in your own time. I wouldn't, but maybe. This is one of those films where I can't tell if it's so bad that it's actually becomes entertaining, because it could be. But at the same time, it's almost like offensively so, because the talent here is so good. It's so high. And again, I don't actually have a problem with the actors. If anything, that's sort of where I draw the line, is I don't like, I don't look at Andra Day and go, that's a bad performance, in a way that I do some other people, where it's like, oh, I think what you've been given is good, but you are not giving to that performance. That's when I sort of blame it on the actor, is when I think the film around them is good, but they are not good in it. Here, the film is not good. There's nothing that they could do to save this film. There's nothing that they can really pull across. No matter how good of an actress Anjali Taylor is, there's nothing she could do to make that role work. It's just not, it's never going to happen. So the ending is problematic, because I'm just gonna skip. This is like not really a thing. It's just thematic. I would say that the fact that the ending suggests that her problems are solved by going back to her husband is problematic. It's a weird sort of setup. It's you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a woman who's left her husband and tried to move out on her own, and we're sort of introduced to her as a flawed individual, and she's flawed going into the house. The house sort of aggravates the situation. She leaves the house, and it's sort of like breath of fresh air, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, on top of that, they throw in this line about getting back together with dad. And she's like, yeah, I think I'm going to give him another shot. And I'm like, did we need that? Like, I feel like that's kind of, feel like, first of all, it's not like he came in the room and like saved everybody at the end. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't like, this film doesn't end with like, everybody's in like this crazy deliverance state, and dad kicks in the door and he's like, all right, you fucking demons, come meet daddy, and then she's like, oh my God, he's so hot, he's come here to save me, and none of that. He's not even there. He's just she just goes back to him sort of inexplicably for no reason whatsoever. I guess because Lee Daniels wants to suggest that two-parent households are better equipped to fight whatever the fuck just happened. I don't know. I found that offensive, to be honest, at the end, towards women and single moms. And I know she's not perfect, but he did a shitty job of establishing that. Largely probably due to the fact that he also wants to be able to say based on a true story. So he doesn't want to say anything too, you know what I'm saying? Like, too provocative about somebody and their parenting, their real life parenting choices. That's the problem based on a true story. It's the same problem that we have with biopics of people who are still alive. Is that you don't want to go certain places because you're like, I'm going to get sued. Case in point, the Apprentice getting a U.S. theatrical distribution is being held up. It'll probably be released internationally this year, but it's unlikely to be released in the United States. So that's a thing. Lee Daniels just, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. I've got this thing for spooky season that I'm doing where I'm trying to like theme things, and I'm trying to help it's spooky season, you know. I love doing, and I'm not doing that with this. I don't even want to try to kid you into thinking this film was spooky. I was never scared by this film. If you've ever seen an exorcism film at all, I know this is not, I'm so sorry. This is not an exorcism, it's a Deliverance movie. No wonder it's so widely. I heard it compared to The Exorcist Believer. I enjoyed The Exorcist Believer far more than I did this film. Uh, Far more than I did this film. Um, I, if somebody tried to make me watch this again, I would probably punch them in the face. Like, I hate this film. But we're in a weird place, and I posted this because I immediately after I saw this film, I was like, I have to post about this on social. I was like, but I'm still in this weird. if you watch my reviews, if you watch enough of them, if you make it to the end, you'll hear me say, but it's not tarot. It's still not tarot. It's funny when you see a shitty film, and a couple years ago I saw Marmaduke. That was like 2022. Marmaduke came out on Netflix. And so I spent the whole year just doing, well, it's not Marmaduke. And now my new film is Tarot. I thought Tarot was easily one of the worst films I've ever seen. It's like so bad. It's like it's almost like mind-boggling. Like it's just like, how could you possibly, who released this? Did somebody test this? Did they pass this? I review a lot of films, and I respect your opinion to like this film. Even this film, I'm going to judge you a little bit. I'm going to be honest. There's going to be a little bit of judging. If you're like, I love The Deliverance, I thought it was great, I'm going to be like, next time they recommend a film to me, remember that they also like The Deliverance. You know, it's gonna weigh a little bit, but I respect your opinion. I do not respect anybody who likes tarot. I just don't. It's impossible to like that film unless you're liking it ironically. If you come to me and say, hey, I know it's really bad, but I love really shitty horror movies, I'll be like, you know what? Okay, you found it fun. I did not, but if you find it fun for that reason, you're acknowledging that it's not a good movie along the way. Cool, we're good. But if somebody tries to come to me and be like, tarot is a work of masterpiece, no, it's not. It just isn't. The Deliverance is not good. It's not a good film, but you might enjoy it because it's actually so bad. It might actually be good. I don't know what happened here. I just, Lee Daniels and this cast should have done a better film. You know what? At least it has well-produced audio description. Descriptive Video Works always makes well-produced audio description. I just wish I had chosen a different narrator. This narrator just does nothing for this genre at all. And I could also have the conversation about probably, representation in casting of audio description that we should have. But at the same time, what this film needed the most was somebody who recognized this was a horror film and had any sort of tone that suggested the seriousness behind this film. Bill Larson sounds like he's narrating Moana. Like, I don't know, this is it doesn't match it at all. And he's got a great voice for narration. He's very clear, very easy to understand. I would love him on like 100 different projects, just not this one. So I'm not saying don't hire Bill Larson for other things, just not this film. This is not the right film to have this narrator on. I hated this film, but I can't fault the cast. So I've seen some truly shitty films this year. And a couple of them have been horror. That usually happens. It's funny how that always happens. There's always some truly shitty horror films. I haven't even seen Winnie the Pooh 2 Blood and Honey. Again, whatever that film is called. I haven't seen that yet. I'm not going to seek it out. It needs to appear on a streaming service. Film will not get my money. But yeah. So I'm going to give The Deliverance a D-. Again, I think Tarot is the only F I've given this year. So when you see a film early on in the year, It stays fresh for quite a while. And you're like, oh man, it's not tarot. Why is it not tarot? Because it has Andra Day, Monique, Angelina Ellis Taylor, Glenn Close, Omar Epps, Caleb McLaughlin. You know what I mean? It has people in it that are not bad actors. These are tremendous talents. Some of them have not been given much to work with, and are inexplicably in this film because I guess I'm assuming whoever handed them the script that they obviously didn't read, they fired later on. But then again, Netflix gave this an Oscar qualifying run, so I don't know. I don't know what people are picking up from this. Maybe they're like, "Ooh, well, if you really thought this was as scary as you thought it would, why would you release it now and not?" It's August, not October. Like, movies like this play better like a month from now? Do you have so many movies planned in October that are horror movies that you're like, we can't even put this Lee Daniels movie in October? Like, September? End of September? Like, I think they don't even think this is scary. So, to be honest, I think they're really confused. I don't think anybody watched it. They were just like, well, Lee Daniels, Oscars, right? Of course, logically. No, that's never going to happen. Don't even waste a dime on Oscar run for this film. It will get no nominations. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side when I will be delivered to you on the other side.